Welcome to Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football. I am one of your post-game hosts, Desmond. I'm here with my partner, Dre. Please like and subscribe before we get going. Also, share the video out on social media. It helps our channel grow. And also subscribe to Mark's main channel, The Voice of College Football. Join his Patreon and join his Discord where you can talk not only college football, but also NFL football 24/7. 365, and we are wrapping up the game here. Michigan is up 27-7 against Iowa. There's about 20 seconds left. Iowa's on the looks like 5-yard line, but yeah, talking Michigan football. So Dre, overall, it looks like Iowa did score a touchdown. There's about 8 seconds left. Your thoughts as far as the game? Well, first, sorry, how you doing, man? But where are my
Oh,
manners? My mother would be upset.
oh no, it's all good. No. I mean, look. It's a good win. First Big Ten road game this year. A slight test for this team. Definitely, I thought a test for the offense going in, especially JJ McCarthy due to his experience level. And uh, Even though it wasn't, incredibly beautiful in terms of like explosive plays all over the field offensively. They did what they had to do, and I thought they learned something today and they got better. Um, I thought that JJ at times, especially when he came out, was very very sharp. He still made some questionable decisions in terms of holding the ball a little bit too long and doing a little bit too much. I believe he had a fumble earlier in the game. So it's those are one of the things where you want to see continue to get better for him. But I thought that he matured, he developed more today, which is a good thing. And defensively, we saw some good things as well. Albeit Iowa's offense isn't the best, but to see the pass rush step up towards the end was a really good sign. So we'll go into those things, but I thought it could have been a better performance, but they definitely did what they had to do. And overall, I'm pleased that we got out of Iowa with a win.
Yeah, it it's one of those things where it's a Big Ten game. You're on the road and you win, right? Iowa's 3-1, regardless of how they looked when they were in those games. They're 3-1. They've won three and only lost one. So it's one of those things where to look at the positives, like you mentioned, JJ was incredibly sharp. I thought he did a great job making decisions. I thought he had maybe one or two throws where kind of forced a little bit, but nothing crazy where you look at it and you pull your hair out, right? Nothing like that. And then he had the fumble, which I think was just kind of holding the ball a little bit too long. But overall, I think he ended up. I'm not sure where he ended as far as kind of his stats, but he was extremely sharp. I think in the first half, he had as many completions. I think he was 9 for 11, and Spencer Petras has two completion. He was like 2 for 6. You know what I mean? So he's got as many incompletions as the other quarterback has completions. And there's a gnat like flying around. But so really positive there. Once again, Blake Corum, just on a different level. He's taken what he did last year and has just built upon it. And he looks impressive, looks good. Ball security once again is a huge positive. That's never really been an issue with him, but sometimes you do see that as running backs get more carries. Sometimes that comes into play, but he did a terrific job there. Thought Ronnie Bell played pretty well. So I think overall a solid win. We can kind of get into some things that we'd like to see improved on, but offensively, I think I think the players did a really good job. We can kind of talk about some of the play calls a little bit later. And then defensively, I thought overall the run defense did a really good job. And they just later in the game, those last really 2 to 3 drives for Iowa, they started running that I formation outside zone kind of stretch play, and it gave Michigan some problems, some fits. And pass defense, I thought they did a pretty good job overall with pass defense. So it's a good win. I mean, you win. Was it 27-14 is the final? We can go ahead and roll that. But it's a good win. I mean, for as many people who were on our stream talking about Kinnick and different things like that, I mean it's a solid win. So you get on the road, you win. Your quarterback looks pretty good. Your Blake Corum is looking like he is that dude. And it was good to see Donovan Edwards today as well. He had some carries. He had quite a few catches. It seems like they're kind of getting him
Touchdowns.
back in the in the mode, and so pretty good overall. You like I said, it's a win. It's a big win.
Yeah, Donovan Edwards had a touchdown. Him and JJ connected with a touchdown in the end zone, which is great. Those guys, roommates, they're came in the same class. They seem to have a really good connection, and they are obviously going to be very important not only for this year but next year as well. So, and just to get Donovan back in the flow of things, he's been out, been banged up, so that's just really important. Um, I'm actually, as we're doing this, I'm watching a post game interview. You got JJ Oki and Mike Morris all together right now. And, all three of those guys can be very important. And one guy, and we talked about Desmond, and I give credit to you. At the time, I think his name was Anoma still, but you brought up after, I think, the first game of the year, or maybe the second game, should Oki be getting more snaps? And he definitely made his presence felt today, especially that last series. You saw more of those flashes of the five-star kid that I think Alabama thought they were getting in pretty much every school he's been at. Thought they were getting. So look, as long as he's doing the right things off the field and he's able to play, one thing is very evident is that this kid can make an impact. He already has, and I think he is deserving of more snaps, especially on obvious passing down. So that's huge to see. And then also Mike Morris, we've been waiting on him to really take a step forward. I mean, just we had last week, someone brought the idea maybe he's a little too heavy, right? And look, he made some big time plays today. I was a little concerned, like he maybe kind of hobbling on his leg a little bit. Maybe he was cramping up. So hopefully he's not too banged up there. He seems to be in a pretty good mood. So,
Yeah, I see
look,
him walking. He doesn't look like there's any kind of limp or anything going on. Probably was cramp, anything like
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, it didn't look
yeah,
like anything major.
right. But and that's another thing too. You want to make sure guys are staying healthy as much as possible. So yeah, man, look, it wasn't a pretty win per se, but it was an ugly opponent, and maybe that's just how they had to win today. But there were definitely signs of like, wow, maybe some guys are starting to really come into their own, which is going to be critically important if this team wants to repeat or even do better than what they did last year, which was really, really good, winning the Big Ten and getting to the playoffs. So there's definitely things that we can pull from this, say, you know what, we can build on that going forward.
So last game, right? We talked about Maryland, and when we got on our post game stream, we had a lot of our viewers were mentioned. Man, Maryland's a lot better than I thought they would be, so on and so forth. Did this game change your thoughts of Iowa at all? Like,
No,
are they okay? Go ahead.
no. They're not. See, I don't think it's fair to say they're a bad football team. I think collectively they're not a bad football team. I think they're really really flawed on one side of the ball, which and it also doesn't help. I believe their coaching philosophy. Like they want to. Kurt Ferentz wants to play this field, getting certain this field possession type ball and try to win like that. That's the formula that they try to win. Like, I don't think they try to do anything that's revolutionizing their offense, right? So, I think part of it's just like their coaching philosophy and just from a personnel standpoint, they just don't have what it takes offensively to be a good team. But by no means, so I think they're a bad team. I think they're solid. I think their defense is really solid. Um, and look, they're physical. They play hard, especially at home. So, I mean, they pretty much are what they showed today is what I thought they were. Like as the great Dennis Green said in a tirade, they are who we thought they were. But this was in a good way for Michigan this time. So, you know,
Yeah, those punts and Devin Hester just taking it to the house. It's rough. I do have this game changed my thoughts a tiny bit on Iowa. In that I mean, with respect to Iowa and that team, I thought they were a bad team on Wednesday when we talked about this game. I did not think they were a good team, and after this game, what I am convinced of is they have a bad coaching staff, at least offensively. That what I saw today was brutal, and I think honestly Michigan helped them a bit
Yep.
because to me, I don't understand why, for the life of me, Michigan would play soft coverage on any of their pass catchers. There is no one over there who is going to run past DJ Turner or any of your corners or any of the defenders that you have in pass coverage. I just don't understand that. I
Yeah.
sent you a text during the game. I'm like, this should have been a Don Brown defensive game plan today, where you just man up on the outsides and blitz all day because the Iowa couldn't do anything offensively until the very end of the game. Now,
Yeah.
granted, some of their big plays ended up being like it seems like every big play they had got called back from a self-inflicted wound. They had a what was it, a clipping? I think it called clipping on them, the clipping
Clipping,
penalty, and then also a
unnecessary
holding
roughness.
penalty.
Unnecessary roughness was
Yeah,
also one,
yep.
which I thought was a little. I thought it was a little
Didn't I didn't love
iffy.
that call. I was like,
No,
eh.
I
I
didn't
mean,
love
it
it.
is behind
But
the
look,
play, so I do get
yeah,
it.
yeah, but you know what? Here's what I would say. Because if that happened to our offensive lineman, you want your offensive lineman to be nasty. You want that. You want them to be nasty. You want them to, especially if it's a little guy in there, to show them what's it like. Don't come into our area. So and from I felt for the guy because I felt like he was doing his job. However, it wasn't a smart football play to make. So look, it is what it is. It didn't affect Michigan negatively. It affected Iowa, but yeah, I mean they definitely hurt themselves. And I thought that play calling perspective, Michigan offensively, I was not impressed at all with our play calling today. I thought that there were some very conservative, especially on third down play calls at times that I didn't agree with. And so I mean, I will hope that gets better. I don't know if that was a based on the nature of the opponent. That look, this is a type of team that really can't move the ball consistently on us. So let's not take too many chances and help them out. I mean, that's the only way I can rationalize what they were trying to do offensively.
Hmm.
But overall, like I said, I thought JJ really showed some signs today of getting better. I mean, making some really good throws on the run. You saw some of that flash that, well, you know what, he did something that Cade couldn't do last year. With his ability to, like the touchdown he threw to Donovan Edwards that he was rolling out to his right.
You
You
mentioned
know,
about how he needs to have better touch on his throws. That was a beautiful touch
oh,
throw. That
perfect,
was that
perfect.
was beautiful.
On the run, like he didn't even stop. Literally on the run, throwing slightly across his body, perfect touch. He literally hits Donovan Edwards in the chest. You can't do anything better than that. That's the flash. That is the sign that that's different. That's a different type of dynamic that we didn't have last year. Now, one of the things that I would like to see more is he has to get better with his reads when they do go RPO, right? When they do, have certain type of option plays. I want to see him pull the ball more. And I hate to bring it up, but one team that always historically does a really good job of it, not so much with CJ Stroud, but in previous years, Ohio State quarterbacks. They've always been really good at knowing, especially if a team knows they're going to run, they're good at holding the defense, and pulling last minute based on what they see. And that's so hard for a defense to guard because you can't just come downhill, right?
Correct.
You have to be assignment sound. So, especially in a situation where you're looking to wrap up a football game and the defense is coming, they're selling out. When you have a quarterback like JJ who is mobile, you have to be able to utilize it more in the RPO and just get them, or just a regular reaction, and just to pull that ball a couple times just so they can't come downhill looking for your running back, right? And you may be surprised. You may gas one or two because they are going. So I would like to see that improve. I think JJ he's showing signs of maturing, but you still do see those signs that he is young. He is still gaining some experience. But what's important, Des, is that he's learning, and he seems to be getting better every week, which is what you want to see.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's funny you mentioned on the zone read and just kind of reading it a little better and the keepers, things of that nature. A guy who played here, but I don't think he's revered by a lot. But I think as far as the zone read goes, Shea Patterson actually did a really good job of his keepers and kind of the ride and decide. He did a really good job of that. Now with everything else, he had a lot of improvements to make. But I think if JJ can and you don't need to do it a lot, right? You
Mm-hmm.
only need a good 3 or 4 in the game where you really pull it and you can gash the defense. Um, I think he'll be fine. As far as some of the play calling offensively, I'm kind of torn because in my mind, what my thought was is if you go out, especially after that the first drive, Iowa, I mean, it was Michigan did whatever they wanted, and to go
Mm-hmm.
up 7-0, right? You kick the ball back, go 3 and out, you get the ball back. Like we kind of talked about it. Like if the first 2 drives is Michigan touchdown, and Iowa doesn't score, like that, I mean, the game is essentially over because now you're putting the ball in Spencer Petras' hand, and that's not what Iowa wants to do. And when Michigan had, I believe it was 3rd and 4 in the red zone, they went speed option to the boundary, and they had the numbers, but JJ didn't quite press it that well. It didn't seem like an aggressive call. It seemed like one of those calls where if we don't get it, it's okay. Like we're fine taking 3, which is fine because the flip side of it is, well, I mean, Iowa scored 14 points, and that was within the last 3-4 drives of the game, so it was over by that time. But you just love to see the killer instinct. You know what I mean? If you go up 21, 28-0 at any point in the game, you're in business. You're rolling. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle because, like I said, I wanted Michigan to just go out and dominate. Like you're the better team, and would have loved to see them just be a little more aggressive on that 3rd and 4. Especially early on, because like I said, you could really put a lot of stress on Iowa's offense.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those things where I mean, look, I mean, it was clear as day. I mean, Michigan's the better football team. I mean, they proved they were the way better football team. I think that it just happened more in flashes, right? It's as opposed to being consistent from first quarter through the fourth, then through the end of the game, right? We would have liked to see them just boat race Iowa and show, you know what, you're nowhere near our level. And I think they did that, but in spots today, not really consistently. So I think that's like the next step if they are on a trajectory to being a great team, which you don't know yet. But look, um, it's just it might be one of those games where, and I text this to you, Des, that it was an ugly style type of opponent, and they had to win ugly. And I think one thing we know about Jim Harbaugh is that he doesn't really care too much about style points in terms of how he gets to win. Uh, and a lot of times, how his team approaches the game is based on the opponent and just getting out there with a win. You know what I'm saying? And when we're in it, look, if we got to run the football, we got to win ugly. We'll do that and we'll move forward. And he has no gripes or concerns or um, hesitations for doing that. So the way this game turned out, I'm not surprised. And I think a lot of Michigan fans who know Jim Harbaugh as well are not surprised either.
Yeah. Well, and what the spread was, I think 10.5, something like that.
Yeah.
So you cover, you're over that. And Michigan's got Indiana next week. I mean, any early thoughts there with Indiana?
Not really. I mean, Indiana. I mean, they for year after year they tend to be like a pain in the butt for Michigan. But I don't think it's one of those Indiana teams that just has like the firepower to do it. I mean, they don't have Michael Penix Jr. anymore. He's at Washington, and they just don't have enough. So no, I'm not worried about Indiana. I mean, like honestly, the next big time game for them is going to be Penn State. That's going to be the next huge. I think they have Indiana. Then I believe they're at Rutgers. Then they have Penn State, and that's going to be the game we circle. Like, okay, now
No. So they have Indiana this next week, and then they play Penn State.
it's Indiana, then it's Penn State.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I think that Penn State game, either way, the Penn State game is going to be a big one. Now, I'm glad it's at home. I would assume if both teams, staying undefeated going through next week, that's probably should be flexed to a 3:30 or a night game, um, and it'll be awesome. Be under the lights at the big house. So, but anyway, that's down the line. But that's the next game that I'm circling. Like, we're going to learn something about this team one way or the other. Indiana, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Just being
Yeah,
honest.
I don't have really any concerns there with Indiana, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'd expect probably 35 ish points on as far as against Indiana, maybe more. Um, but like today, I feel like today was just the Blake Corum show. You know what I mean? Like it was just
Yeah.
it was just a lot of I think the offense did a good job. Like I said, I would have loved, especially on that 3rd and 4, the 4th and 1s, like some more aggressive play calling. But um, I mean, it was just Blake Corum. I mean, 29 carries. It was he did man, that dude is a house. Like he's not very tall, but he's stocky. He can wiggle. He can run. He ran really physical today. It was really impressive to see him today. Gosh, one play that I think about, and I tweeted this, was the DJ Moore almost pick six. Like that was, I
DJ,
mean,
you mean
this
Rob Moore?
close.
I mean
No,
Rob
no,
Moore,
no.
right?
I'm sorry, DJ Turner. I'm sorry.
DJ
No,
Turner,
it was
yeah.
DJ Turner. He had a perfect read on. It looked like it was either like a flood route or a corner or something from the number 2, and DJ did a terrific job of reading it. And it just, I don't know if he just dropped it or if the receiver had a hand in there, but man, if he catches that, it's a whole different ball game, whole
Oh
different
yeah.
ball game, and
Oh
he
yeah.
should have had it.
Yeah, those are one of those things where you get a little bit too excited, and you start seeing the end result before you start right and catching the
Hmm.
football. So, those are things that you hope DJ's going to probably hear about doing film session. Hey, no, hey,
You're
that's
right.
6 points. Catch the football at 6 points. So that's one thing you hope that he corrects, and if the opportunity presents itself again, that he's able to capitalize.
Yeah. Well, because he had the huge interception against Maryland last week,
Yeah,
so he can make those plays, and
yeah,
he did, like I said, he did a great job of reading reading the quarterback's eyes, reading the routes. He did a really good job there, and I think he played really well the whole game. Like I said, I would have liked Michigan to be more in the faces of those Iowa receivers.
yeah.
Because I just don't think they don't have a dynamic guy that's going to run by you. You know what I mean? They don't have a one of those receivers that Ohio State has. They don't. I mean, they don't even have Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson. Like they just don't have that type of deep threat. And I feel like Michigan on the back end is much better than those guys. So would love to get them up, because I feel like most of Iowa's completions were just due to the Michigan defenders just playing off coverage. Like I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
yeah, but then there was also some blown coverages too that Peaches just couldn't hit guys too. I mean, one thing about today is that Peaches also showed it was enlightening to see just really how bad Peaches has been this year. I'm just being honest, like, dude, because even when Michigan
Hold on,
blew,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like, so they showed the graphic of like him in the first 2 games. It was like no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, like I don't know, 47% completion percentage, and then they were like, these last 2 games, he's been even better, and it's like it showed like 58% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, and like no intercept. I'm like, wait, so he's got 1 touchdown in the last 2 games, and this is better? Like that
yeah,
that was brutal.
dude,
But go
dude,
ahead.
yeah, because no, there were certain times when like we blew coverages. Like they had like this one. It was one play where they had 2 tight ends loaded on the right side, and they basically both had stream routes, seam routes, excuse me,
Hmm.
and our safety, I think it was either Rob Moore or Moten. I believe it was Rob Moore. Uh, he took the guy on the left, and the guy on the right, toward his right, was wide open, going down the middle, and Peaches just overthrew him.
Hmm.
And then he also, did the same thing the very next play, overthrew a guy, and then the very last possession they had, he shorted the pass behind the sticks. It's like,
No,
man,
and
this.
think about this, Dre. At that point, it was, I believe, 20-7, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it was 20-7, and it's 4th and 2. And if I'm not mistaken, they came off either a timeout or maybe there was a penalty. I think it was a timeout, if I'm not mistaken. And that was
Oh,
the absolute best play that they had for 4th and 2. A short rollout to his opposite, to his wrong
to his
hand,
left side,
right? His
yeah,
left
yeah,
side.
yeah.
And for like that, it was
Short of the
brutal. I'm
stick,
like,
short of the stick. Dude, it drives me insane, especially when tight ends seem to do it more than receivers. When like guys run, like they run their routes below the sticks. Like it's insane to me. You see where the sticks are before the ball is snapped. How do you possibly run your route behind the sticks? What are you doing? It's pointless for you to do that, especially on fourth down. Like
it it honestly makes me feel bad for the people who joined our stream on Wednesday who were Iowa fans. Like, to have to watch that for now, what, 4 or 5 weeks? Like, I understand why the Iowa fans were booing, especially early on in that game. I
bro,
think
in
it
the
was like
first
the
quarter.
second
No, in the first
drive.
quarter. Yeah,
Well,
I
no,
mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The second drive that they had on offense, they were booing them already. And I'm like, if I had to
he
watch
fed up.
this, I would definitely be booing. Definitely be booing.
It's substandard. Look, they're not a great program, but they're a very solid program. And for the pedigree that they do have, they shouldn't be this bad. I mean, this is embarrassingly bad how inept they are on offense. And Petrus, look, probably is a good young man. I'm not saying that he can't. There's somewhere for him to play, but there's no way he can be their
Mm,
starting quarterback going forward. Because I mean, like the amount of throws that young man missed. I mean, look, for the most part, we were very sound on defense in terms of Michigan, but even when we did blow situations, Iowa just couldn't take advantage of us. And the only real offensive momentum they got was when they started using that stretch
hmm.
play and then running play action off of that. So other than that, I mean, they really had nothing that they could do. So,
Dude,
um,
it was you. I mean, I feel like Iowa boosters would probably be ready to pony up $1 million to get Cade there. I mean, is whatever you think about Cade, he is exponentially better than that dude. That
of
was
course,
brutal. Let me shout out a super chat real quick. Teddy Rich, thanks so much. It says just like I said last year, Dre in the Big Ten championship. Tell Corey, while he was trying to convince us all that his team had a shot, we proved to them all they to prove to them all they are trash. They got skull dragged. So hush. Thanks so much, Teddy Rich. Yeah, I mean that was I just really don't understand how it can be this bad for a program of Iowa's brand to look like that. That's especially offensively.
just not that other than that. Just not look. They're not going to be in Ohio State, but in terms of offensive, efficiency and scoring. But they shouldn't be.
Goodness
I think
gracious, that. I
they
mean, that
shouldn't be hurting
was
the team. I mean, and it's unfortunate because I thought their defense. Besides the very first drive when Michigan went through them like butter, I thought overall, their defense did a solid job. Gave them some opportunities to score, and they just weren't good enough to capitalize. But look, we don't do an Iowa show, and by no means are we doing that. I'm just saying that how we how we're gauging how well Michigan is doing is also we have to factor in the ineptitude of Iowa as well, and and how within that credit do we give Michigan, or how much credit do we give Iowa for being inept? You know what I'm trying to say. Now, one thing defensively that I was so impressed with that last series, you really saw the flash, I believe, of how the potential playmakers of that defensive line, like
oh
especially
my
in
goodness.
the bigger games. Mike Morris and Oki. If those two big fellas can bring that type of threat down a stretch of this season, then you may not get the individual Aiden Hutchinson and the Jabo, but collectively as a unit, you can still have that type of pressure. And also, the one thing that was really impactful and important to see is the is Monty Smith and Mason Graham's how well they were doing controlling the interior of that defensive line. And pretty
Mm-hmm.
much anytime Iowa tried to run up the middle, they weren't going anywhere. So
Correct.
I was also very impressed with that as well. If you can keep a team behind schedule, not allow them to gas runs, and get them in third and clear passing situations, then you give your defense an even better chance to be more efficient with getting off the field. So that was really, really good to see, especially with myself, and I felt a lot of our subscribers saying the past few weeks the pass rush really hasn't been there. So it was good to see that.
Yeah. And I think they did a terrific job, especially when it came to, so as far as the edge guys, Morris and Oki, which he even got his jersey changed, which that's unique. Like usually that doesn't seem like something that happens a lot, but those guys, especially when it was, it was very clear that Iowa was going to be throwing the ball, because even when Iowa needed that score, I mean, late they had the short field. Granted, it was 44 yards, I think. I mean, they still were running the ball. That was their best pass play, was running the football. But when it was clear they were going to throw the ball, Morris, I mean, and the interesting part is both of those guys did it in back-to-back plays. So Morris had two in a row, then Oki flipped, turned around and had two in a row as well. Those guys, if that continues, if those guys keep rolling like that, and just especially in those obvious passing downs, man, Michigan's defense is going to be in really good shape, because I think on the back end they can cover. Like Michigan can cover really well. So to have both of those things kind of mesh together, of a really good pass rush and you got guys who can cover, it's only going to turn into turnovers and big plays for the defense. So they did a really good job. Especially in those passing downs and when you had to have it. So kudos to Mike Morris and Oki. And like you mentioned, we talked about, someone had mentioned, is Mike Morris too big to play on the outside? And we kind of talked about him, having that versatility to play inside and still get a pass rush, and then you can bring in Oki, etc. And one of his sacks that he got for Mike Morris was when he lined up, inside. So I think him having that flexibility and the diversity, I think will definitely help when it comes to kind of those obvious passing downs. And there's a team down south that likes to throw it, and you're going to need to get pressure on their quarterback down the road.
Yeah, Mason Graham, I'm looking at the chat, is getting a lot of big time love. Some people calling him a
He played well,
five-star.
man.
He did. I don't know what his trajectory really is going to be, but he definitely is showing signs, especially as a true freshman. Of really being a big time playmaker for this team. Now and going forward. So, and that's what. Those are the things you really like to see. It's along the line of a season, every game almost. New guys or guys you've heard about showing themselves and showing flashes and showing that they can be not only contributors to the team but playmakers. Right? We got an Andrew Anthony sighting today.
We did. That was the longest longest pass play of the game, wasn't it, for Michigan?
I believe so.
I think it was.
So. After once again, JJ overthrew Roman Wilson in the end zone. Him and Roman got
that was. But see, this one was a lot closer than the ones last week. That one, I mean,
matter.
It was.
It doesn't matter. You got to complete it.
I know. Well, it does make a difference. I mean, if you're a pitcher and you throw it, you know what I mean, and the batter has to duck.
Or a strike. If you're a pitcher,
come
on.
On.
Ball or a strike, man. And look, especially him and Roman got to get it going, man. They got to spend more time at the practice or something, working on their touch, man. But JJ has to convert more of those, and he's getting better. But especially when they catch a defense slipping like that, man, you gotta be able to connect. So those are one of those things you hope JJ continues to get more efficient with throughout the season. But he overthrew another guy today, and by no means is he this guy. And this is going to upset a lot of people when I say it, but when I see a quarterback overthrowing receivers, it gives me nightmares of Joe Milton.
Oh,
stop.
Good Lord. Were you really going there?
I'm not calling him that. It's just that it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. It's like, oh my God.
Joe Milton has never been an accurate quarterback in his entire career. Even that Minnesota game that was overblown and he was called the next Cam Newton and all that.
I never said he's anywhere is way better than Joe Milton. See, don't do that. He's way better than Joe. I'm talking about the feeling I get when I see my quarterback overshoot guys. You know, it's like, man, like please, like you got this great arm. Also, having a great arm is good, but you also have to be able to understand and touch as well. There's also a pass where I think it was Roman Wilson had a corner. Had a he was running a corner route in the end zone, and JJ kind of threw a bullet. And I thought maybe if he like gave a little bit more of a touch, he could have dropped it towards the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. So I see.
Yeah, so Roman Wilson, I think is you're talking about the corner throw. Yeah, everybody is not excited about your Milton comment. However you want to.
I never said. See, I knew people were gonna be upset.
But I don't
about
understand
that.
why you would bring that up. Why? I just, is my question, and obviously everyone's question. Why would you bring that up?
It's just a frustration of my quarterback overshooting this guy when they're wide open. That's all. I mean, by no means is Joe Milton. JJ's way better than Joe Milton. I'm just saying that when you have somebody beat deep and your quarterback overshoots him, it's very, very frustrating. It reminded me how I felt when we had Joe Milton because he had this gun of an arm and guys will be open and he'll throw it 20 yards ahead of him. You know, so it was just a feeling and a frustration I would get with that. That's all. But my God, you know, I'm not saying that he's Joe Milton. He's way better than Joe Milton.
Right,
My
Adrian
God.
says you gotta apologize for the culture. You gotta apologize. They want an apology. Our listeners
I
too.
don't apologize for anything. If people heard what I said, I never said he was.
But look, we also got to understand too. I mean, it was one deep ball today, and he had a couple last game. Other than that, he's not missed his deep throws. Like it's been a very recent thing that's happened. I'm sure he'll be fine. That's incredible. I love our viewers. I really do because they get on you when they need to, and this is one of those times. Yeah, you're tripping with the Milton comparisons. Been seeing a lot on Maryland is up 7 on Michigan State. I mean, who did you expect to win that game, Dre? Okay. I'm wondering who everybody else was thinking. I mean, yeah, I just no, Michigan State's having a rough go of it, if you will.
They're in a spiral right now, and I think one thing that you are seeing with them is they are starting to see how broken I think their scheme is, especially on defense. And I think guys just kind of you get to a point where you're struggling so bad where guys start to lose faith a little bit. And I think their confidence. And I think that's what MSU is going through. They're going through a spiral. I thought last year, like a lot of people, was looking more of a mirage. You know, look, we'll see what they're going to do by the time Michigan plays. And by no means am I as concerned about that game as I was earlier this year. So I don't know, but no. Let me be once again, Adrian. I never said that JJ is Joe Milton. Okay, I was simply saying the context of overthrowing a receiver. Just that context, overthrowing a receiver. It reminded me how Joe Milton would do sometimes and how it would make me frustrated. I'm not saying he's way better than that. My God,
just a bad comparison on your part. I
wasn't comparing. I wasn't comparing.
Well, parallel, whatever you want to relating. No. Do want to hit this comment. Iowa isn't a top 5 defense. They played no one in the first 4 games. I knew it wouldn't be as advertised. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that may not be from a personnel standpoint a top 5 defense, but the way that they were getting teams to turn over the ball and able to convert that into points, I think is what really kind of elevated their perception of their defense. I think they're absolutely the best defense that Michigan has faced, right? So to see JJ play, I think, well, Michigan able to still run the football for the most part whenever they wanted to effectively is a really good sign. So they may not be a top 5 defense, but they're definitely a good defense. And I thought Michigan's offense played well under regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I would agree with what he's saying. Yeah, Michigan played really well. Offensively, they were extremely calculated. They were, had some explosive plays in the run game. They had a couple in the pass game, so they played really well. I don't know. I don't know what Iowa's defense is going to be because the difficult part is you with their offense being is as limited as they are, you put extra stress on your defense. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was either halftime or maybe early third quarter where Michigan had run 48 plays already, and Iowa was less than half of that. They were at like 20 or 24 plays, and I'm like, if your offense is so limited where a punt is a win, like you're just gonna put your defense out on the field for so long, and I have no idea who Iowa's playing down the road, but if they have Maryland on the schedule, Ohio State, like they're gonna get throttled. They are going to get throttled.
You would think for sure. I mean, look, it's one of those things where you when one side of your team is not only bad, but they actually hurt you. It just creates a situation where your team is going to eventually start to break. That dam's going to break, and that's when the floodgates open. It's either in a game or throughout a season where you start to go off the rails. And in a way, you see the same thing happening with Michigan State, but it's flipped. Instead of the defense being instead of the offense being broken, it's the defense. So it's definitely not a good place to be with your program. But one side of the ball is just not doing their job. And D Brown that's not fair to U of M. Yeah, okay. Look,
now let me go first because I told you all Iowa sucks. That's what I said. I predicted a score of 35-10. No. So I am in lockstep with what I gave them no respect, Kinnick no respect. So I am standing in what I had mentioned. Go ahead, proceed.
No. But I think here's how some of us are looking at it is it's not that you're going back on something that you said before, but you have your pre-game perceptions and understanding of a team, both your team and the opponent before the game, and then you have your perception afterwards. So if you did see something different than you expected, then of course you're going to have a slightly different outlook. And that doesn't mean that you're crapping on your own team, but now that you have more of a face-to-face understanding what that team, what the opponent actually is, it may shape your opinion. And yeah, I thought Iowa's defense was a little bit better. And I texted Des during the game. I'm like, hey, we're running the ball pretty easily. I was very shocked that Michigan was able to run the ball that easily, like butter, earlier in the game. Now, I thought we would be able to run the ball effectively, but I think we were going to just knife through them like the way we were. So, look, I did kind of like take a step back and say maybe Iowa's rush defense isn't quite as good as I thought, but they're definitely not bad, and they're definitely the best defense this team has faced all year. So a little bit of both things can be true. And just because you acknowledge that doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking anything away from Michigan, but now you actually have real context for your thoughts on the team.
And I think the score was 27-14, and really it was, yes, they scored that last touchdown, but it was 27-7. And even with that, I mean, Michigan left a lot out there, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Roman Wilson overthrow, I think Michigan scored a touchdown on that drive still, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken on that. But there were just other opportunities. I mean, you look at the second drive that Michigan has the ball, and they're driving, and if the O-lineman doesn't step on JJ's foot and set them back, 5 yards, you just never know what that drive could end up as. Yeah. Like maybe that ends up 14-0, and at that point it's probably going to be off of the wheels are probably going to fall off for Iowa at that point, because now you're dealing with Mike Morris and Oki just full force, Mozzie Smith just coming at you nonstop. So who knows what it could have ended up as, but. I don't know. To me, unless you have like a 2019 LSU offense, you're just not going to get away with one side of the ball being as bad as Iowa's offense is. I mean, legitimately every single statistical category that they keep track of, Iowa was at the bottom of. Like they
Right.
showed, passing offense, total offense, rushing offense, Big Ten rankings, last. They showed when they finally did get in the red zone opportunities. They had six coming into this game. They had six. That was by far the lowest in. I don't know if that was Big Ten or just college football. And their percentage was atrocious. Like they had 33% touchdown percent. Like everything was
Yeah.
bad. And like you can't be successful doing, you know what I mean, like living like that. And for Kirk Ferentz and Brian Ferentz, like I don't get it, man. To be just be like, yeah, this is us. This is how we're gonna roll. Like I don't get it, but
That they have their box and they stay in their box, and they'll get buried in that box
people are stomping
eventually.
on the box right now.
Yeah. Yes.
People are stomping on the box. It's
Yeah.
not good. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
good. But also too credit Michigan because they took advantage. Like they were, like I said, they didn't take a lot of deep shots. I think it was just really what two, the one to Andrell, the one to Roman. Um, and they just said, look, we're just gonna physical you. We're gonna be calculated. We're just gonna move you off the ball. And the Michigan's O line did a terrific job the
Oh.
entire game,
Oh. Oh.
just
Yeah.
moving guys out of there.
Yeah, yeah, and look, they were looked at as possibly the best offensive line in the country. This is one of those days where they kind of showed that. When they get into that mindset, and they get in a really good rhythm as a unit, and they're healthy, they are maulers. They just maul you at a point of attack, and and then not to mention that the backs that we have tremendous vision with both Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, and have the ability to make you miss, and are physical and are strong, especially Blake Corum. So it's a great combination in terms of and you know what's really telling about the Michigan offensive line and running attack is that even when they're going to run the football, you still have a hard time consistently stopping them, or at least limiting their effectiveness. They're just too good. They're too good. Um, and what can really take this offense to the next level, I believe, is for JJ to get better with his reads and to use his legs more, but knowing when to use his legs more or when to give it to the running back and let him take it, right? That could take this offense to a whole nother level, right? And then imagine a day where with the rush attack is the same effectiveness as it is now, but JJ is just as prolific with the passing game and also keeping the ball himself. Then there's absolutely nothing you can do with this defense, this offense, right? And I think that's the level that they have the ability to one day get to, but there's still some growing pains that they have to go through to get there. And I think JJ's the maturation process for JJ is a big part of that, with his decision making, ability to read, to throw guys off, right, to sell it. You have to be able to sell some of these RPO type plays and stuff like that. So that's the next step of his maturation process. But you're seeing the right things along the way, and I think when we take a step back now that we're 5 games into the season, um, this team is definitely on their way to achieving all their goals. Everything's in front of them. The talent is there, but there's definitely things that still need to be cleaned up, and I think that's very evident as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got and we talked about it before the season started of just the Michigan schedule and how it plays out. I mean, it is you do play some tough teams because I think originally we thought this Iowa team was going to be a little tougher than they were. Obviously the last couple weeks we've seen like, that's not the case, but you got Penn State, obviously you've got Ohio State, but you get to play Indiana, who we're pretty sure is not a great team this next week, and then you've got Penn State at home the week after that, and then you get a bye week, and then you got Michigan State. So there is some things that where this schedule kind of lays out pretty well and pretty beneficial for Michigan. And even before you play Ohio State, you've got you play Illinois at home. So I think Michigan's in good shape. They've
Oh yeah.
got opportunities. Like I said, the way the schedule lays out, like you got opportunities to kind of toy with different things, like kind of have some experimentation. Like
Let's
you don't
just
want
say
to get
what it is.
crazy.
Let's just say what it is. You essentially have really 2 games left in your schedule that are 50 games, Penn State and Ohio State. Let's just say what it is. Based on how the way things look now, Indiana's not a good football team.
You don't think
Rutgers-
Nebraska is going to be like a tough? You don't.
Oh my God, it's gonna be a bomb run. Yeah, Indiana's not. Indiana's not a good football team. Rutgers is not a good football team. Nebraska is a dumpster fire. MSU right now looks like a dumpster fire this year at least, right? So I mean, let's be honest. Like those games should be easy wins. You would think. Now we got to play football. We know anything can happen. We can think like that. The players and coaches can't. They got to take care of business. But those 4 games should be wins, easily. Should be wins. You have 2 games left in your schedule that are the proven games. Penn State and Ohio State. That's it. So look, everything's in front of you. You pretty much can pencil in 9 more wins. So it's just a matter of are you going to get to 10 or 11? And that's what that Penn State and Ohio State game is going to show us. That's pretty much what we're seeing, if we're just being honest about it.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's it. And if you think, I mean, obviously you want to win them all, and I think Michigan has the talent to. But you think about it, if you split those games, you probably still get in the playoff. Like it, you know what I mean? It's
yeah, for sure.
Obviously, you don't want to have that situation, right? You want to control your own destiny. I don't need to worry about the voters, etc. Like, no, we're gonna take it and roll with it. But
right.
You know, at the end of the day, I mean, if that happens, and especially if you, and just hypothetically speaking, but if you lose to Penn State and beat Ohio State, you're definitely getting in the. You're probably still going to the Big Ten championship because I don't think Penn State's going to be undefeated in conference. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, big win for Michigan. You know, they beat Iowa. They go on the road. Big Bad Kinnick has been slayed. The wave was pretty cool. I think that might have been my first time watching that live, so that was pretty cool to see that. But Michigan gets a big win, 27-14, and 5-0, rolling into Indiana. And I think at this point, JJ has yet to throw an interception, which is pretty awesome. So a lot of good things, trending for Michigan. You know, they're the number 4 team, and I don't think they're going anywhere. So we will be back here Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for about an hour or so. So please tune in. We definitely appreciate it. Any parting words, my friend?
No, just like I said, good team win. You know, a test that they passed, and we'll continue to move forward.
Sounds good. Well, we've got 153 on. I think we peaked at like 206. Please give us a thumbs out on your way out because we definitely appreciate it. It helps grow the channel and helps more people get exposed to the stream. So thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate it. Big win for Michigan, and we will be back here Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Peace.
Peace.